Hello class, this is Demetrius Wilson again with organizational behavior. This is week 5 and we're going to talk about theories of motivation. Our learning objectives for the week are to understand the role of motivation in determining employee performance, classify the basic needs of employees, describe how fairness perceptions are determined and consequences of those perceptions, understand the importance of rewards and punishment, and apply motivation theories to analyze performance problems. Well, what is performance and what is it made up of? Well, performance equals motivation. How do you motivate these employees and how do they like to be motivated? Times ability. How much ability do they have? Do they have ability already or do they have raw talent that can be developed? Times the environment. Because we all know that environment can either hinder your ability to perform or it can enhance your ability to perform. So we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So physiological needs down there, you need shelter, you need food, the basic things that you need to live, right? That's obviously number one. That's the basis of everything. And then you have safety needs, right? You want to be protected. You don't want things to happen to you. You don't want to go outside and be worried. You don't want to be in your house and be worried about your safety. Social needs, right? You want to have friends. You want to have, friends on Facebook, Twitter, people following you. You want to feel good about your social network that you have. Esteem needs. How do you feel about yourself? Are you feeling good? Do you have high self-esteem, which you all should? And then self-actualization. You see, that's very top of the principle. That's very hard to reach, but that's you're just glowing and you're floating around and everything's running and kicking on all cylinders, right? You reach your maximum potential in regards to learning, your maximum potential in regards to your health and exercise, all kinds of things. So as in the pyramid that we're walking up, it takes a long time to get to the very top of that pyramid. So ERG theory, you guys will read about that in your textbook, but it talks about growth, existence, and relatedness. Two-factor theory, we will pause and talk about that one. So hygiene factors, because this is a very good thing to kind of key on. You have company policy, supervision and relationships, working conditions, salary, and security. Those are hygiene factors, not hygiene like I need to go take a shower because I stink, but hygiene like things that you need in order to run a successful company. And then you have motivators. You have achievement, recognition, interesting work, increased responsibilities, and advancement and growth. Now, let me explain something about hygiene factors. If a hygiene factor is there, you're not jumping up and down, clapping, and saying this is great about it. It's not a big deal. If your manager is there, you're not saying every time that you come into the company, I love my manager, I'm so glad you're here. You're not. But if you take that manager and all the rules and regulations away, and then it becomes a madhouse, right? And there's no order in the court, then you're going to say, man, I do miss the manager. I kind of need the manager. So hygiene factors are things that you don't jump up and down and you're not so happy-go-lucky about the fact that they're there. But if they weren't there, then you'd have a problem because you just assume that they should be there. You should assume it would be good management. You assume there would be good working conditions, and you assume that you would have a decent salary. Acquired needs theory. So you have the need for achievement. Do you have a need for achievement to achieve certain goals on your own? And if you have a need for achievement, do those goals need to be recognized by others, and does it need to be publicly, or do you just need to know that you finished it and did it the right way yourself? All right, everybody's different. I lean more towards I just need to know that I did it right myself, and you can increase my check, and you don't have to send out anything indicating that I did a great job. Need for affiliation, right? Do you have friends and coworkers in the workplace that you communicate with, that you talk about the baseball game or talk about the latest recipe on Pinterest or something like that? So you have affiliation needs within the company as well. And the need for power. Everybody doesn't have the need for power, but do you have the need to be the one in charge and making all of the decisions? Or you could be some people, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people just don't want that. They don't want the management responsibilities, sometimes because they don't necessarily want what some people consider a headache. All right, I guess I'm used to the headache, so I have no problem managing and dealing with people, but everybody doesn't want that. They want to come into the workplace, do their thing, get in, get out, go home, and enjoy their family. So the acquired needs theory. So the thematic appreciation test assesses a person's dominant needs by presenting subjects with an ambiguous picture and having them write a story about it. So if you saw this picture, what would you write on there? What would you think? The story you create based on this picture might give away the dominant needs that motivate you. So what do you think she's looking at in the picture? For me, I would probably say, hey, I think she's looking at a time she was out on vacation at a beach in the Caribbean, because that's what would motivate me. Others of you may say, hey, I bet she's looking at her boyfriend and saying, I can't wait for him to propose to me, or something like that. Everybody has a different picture, or paints a different picture of what she's truly looking at. Now, she could be looking at a cupcake saying, I'm very hungry and I want to go to the cafeteria and get me some food. So as always, with most of the discussions, I want you guys to read over those questions. If you have somebody that you're friendly with in the class, discuss it with each other. Ask them the question, they give you an answer. Then have them ask you the question and do the same thing, vice versa. It works out well when you're bouncing these ideas off of each other. Equity theory, you'll read about that in the book as well, about reference and persons, outcomes, and inputs, but we're going to skip over that slide. But I do want to stop on this slide and talk about reaction to unfairness. So reactions to inequity, and then examples on the right side. So if you distort perceptions, changing one's thinking to believe that the referent actually is more skilled than previously thought. So I'll give you a scenario. A lot of times you'll see people that hype up other employees and indicate that their skill level is higher or better than what it truly is, and that's never a good thing. Increase reference inputs, so encouraging the referent to work harder. Well, I have employees and I always encourage them to work harder, but I also know what their bandwidth is, and I know that some of them just don't have it in them to work any harder than they currently do. It's not within their bandwidth, it's not within their wheelhouse. Reduce own input, so you're deliberately putting forth less effort at work, reducing the quality of one's work. So individual, a lot of times they'll draw back. You feel like, you know what, I'm not going to advance in this company. I'm just going to kind of, take my foot off the gas and take it easy. My paycheck's going to be the same either way. Increase your own outcomes, so negotiating a raise for oneself or using unethical ways of increasing rewards, such as stealing from the company. So you could say, you know what, they're not giving me the money I need, so I'm going to take a 2-hour lunch. That's how I'll deal with that. And I'll go do some other work on that hour, right? That's a way that some people do it. Now, negotiating a raise part's not that bad, because I've negotiated raises before where I've sent emails and letters to the hiring manager that I worked for and said, hey, I'm doing all these things. I feel like I deserve a raise, and they actually gave it to me. So change referent, comparing oneself to someone who is worse off. You never want to do that, right? You don't want to be, if there's 10 employees, you don't want to say, hey, I'm number 9 and he's number 10, I'm better than him, and try to shine the light on him, because guess what? When 10's gone, then you're at the bottom, and then you're going to be gone right after him. Leave the situation. Quitting's one's job. Obviously that's never a good thing. So we should, kind of stay away from the whole quitting thing if you get a better opportunity. But if it's not a good fit, you should see if you can go to another department or do something else. A lot of companies do a lot of good job rotation where they have you do a lot of different positions, and when they have you do a lot of different positions, you don't get bored and you don't get stale in regards to what you're doing at work. And seek legal action, suing the company or filing a complaint if unfairness in question is under legal protection. I've been called into the Human Resource Office a few times. One time it was over age discrimination. They indicated that I didn't pick this one individual because she was older, and that definitely wasn't the case. And I had all my paperwork together and said the reason why I didn't pick her is because her audit scores were lower than the 4 people that I did pick, and simply shut down the situation. And she was also satisfied with the answer, because she knows she could go no further than that. You guys will check this out in the book as well, Differences in Equity Perception. You'll see from the titles, the benevolence and equity sensitivity, you'll look at the difference between those two types of people. Distributive, procedural justice, and interactual justice. And you see how there are 3 circles, but those 3 circles intertwine, and you see in the very, very middle that all 3 of them, right, in that little small section, all three of them interact. So procedural justice is the degree to which fair decision-making procedures are used to arrive at a decision, right? Now you may think it's not fair but it may be fair. I get people that question me on things all the time. This isn't fair, that isn't fair. But trust me, I'm going about things in a fair manner to figure out the way that we should do things. And you can't always reveal exactly what your game plan is, because especially if you're a manager, because the employees aren't they aren't privy to all of the information. So for instance, I had two people and they were very underperforming employees, and I told one of the employees, I called her in the office and I wrote her up. And then the other employee, she was worse than that employee, and I didn't write her up. So the lady, she asked me, well, why didn't you write up so and so? And I said, well, I didn't write up so-and-so is not any of your business, the reason why I didn't write her up. But the truth of the matter was that I was about to fire that individual. I can't say to her, though, that, hey, I'm about to fire her, so no, I'm not going to write her up. But, that's when, sometimes people just, they're going to ask you questions, but you just can't answer them. Interactional justice, that's the degree to which people are treated with respect, kindness, and dignity in interpersonal interactions. I try to treat everybody with respect. That's always the best policy. Don't, make snide comments. Don't be so sarcastic with them. Have a good time. You have to be kind towards people. And distributive justice, that's the degree to which outcomes received from the organization are fair, right? I know one of the things that companies I've worked for before, they've come up and said, you know what, a lot of employees are saying that they don't know what direction we're going, and we want to put something out there to say this is where we're going and this is why we're making these decisions. Back to our organizational behavior toolbox. So be a fair person. Everybody, you should be a fair person, right? I'll look at this. I'll try and learn something from it too, even though I've read it quite a few times, and see how I can be more of a fair person. So when distributing rewards, make sure you pay attention to different contribution levels of employees, right? So right now I'm doing evaluations, and certain people are going to get certain raises and certain people are going to get different raises, and they're not all going to be the same. And if you're a manager, and I'll tell you this, and you think that that information is not going to get out, and you tell them, like, keep this to yourself, it's going to get out, right? One time I was terminating an employee, and she actually had another individual's evaluation in her desk. And I said, well, why do you have that? She said, oh, well, we were just looking at some things. So the information is going to get out. So you need to just do it the right way. Sometimes you may have to disregard people's contributions to distribute certain rewards. Pay attention to how you make decisions. You should always make them the right way. Have some type of step-by-step analytical approach to it, and you won't get in trouble and get called to HR. Pay attention to how you talk to people, right? The way and the manner in which you talk to people, you have to be cognizant of that. Remember that justice is in the eye of the beholder. Perception is reality. You must remember that. And people do not care about or care only about their own justice level. They care about what happens to their friends and other employees within the company. So you have to be very, very careful. Expectancy theory. So effort. This is really good. So pay attention. If you fell asleep, open your eyes up and pay attention to this, please. Effort. Will my effort lead to high performance? What I'm doing. Performance. Will my performance lead to outcome? Balance, right? Or rewards. Do I find the outcomes to be desirable? So let's check this out. So effort. Will my effort lead to high performance? Will me working 30 extra minutes at the end of the day lead to higher performance? Let's say it does. So will the performance, right, 30 minutes extra a day, lead to outcomes? Let's say it does. Do I find those outcomes desirable? And the outcomes that it leads to is maybe I end up getting a raise. So yeah, then it's a desirable outcome. But let's say it doesn't. It ends up being me just getting a pat on the back. Then maybe I do not feel that the outcome is desirable, and then I circle all the way back to will my effort lead to high performance? And I say, you know what? It doesn't matter if it leads to high performance because I'm not going to get a reward for it. So I don't even care, and I'm going to continue to coast along as I am. So expectancy, instrumentality, and balance, right, goes to effort, performance, and rewards. So keying in more on these terms. So expectancy, make sure employees have proper skills, abilities, and knowledge. Ensure that the environment facilitates performance. Encourage employees so they believe their effort makes a difference. Instrumentality, reward employee performance. inform people in advance about rewards, and try to eliminate non-performance influence over rewards. A lot of companies are really big in now to pay for performance, right? That's a big thing. So if you pay for performance and you're an underperforming employee, guess what? You're not getting a raise, right? It's not a cost of living, a COLA, a cost of living adjustment. Not going to get that. You're just not going to get a raise. And balance, find rewards that are desirable to employees. If I'm giving out coupons to Papa John's and nobody likes Papa John's, well, hey, guess what? I didn't find the right reward. Make sure that the rewards are viewed as fair and give employees choice over rewards. And sometimes, you know what? No matter what decision you make, people are going to be mad. My manager at the time said, we're going to do this competition in the claims department. And they said, okay, we're going to split them up in groups, and if this team processes the most claims, then they win this prize. And if this team does it, they're going to win the same prize. And it was a fair competition. And she said she wanted me to do the same thing in customer service. So I split the teams up evenly, and one team was pulling out ahead of the other team as far as how many customer service calls they were taking. And then the other team, they proceeded to say, well, they're not taking as much time as they should on their calls. I'm walking the customer all the way through and I'm fixing everything. And, they didn't get the premise of customer service. The premise of customer service is to take their call, resolve their problem, and get off the call within a certain amount of time. But, in reality, they just didn't want to do that. So obviously they lost the competition. And so they weren't too happy about that. So no matter what you do, sometimes it's always going to end up in, maybe a negative situation for some. And give employees choice over rewards. Give them rewards that count, that they like, good things, right? Don't give them terrible rewards, because they're not going to care about that. Reinforcement theory. So very, very good topic as well. So positive reinforcement. Positive behavior followed by positive consequences. The manager praises the employee. So I do a good job. I sell the most widgets. The manager praises me. Good job, Demetrius, for selling the most widgets. Negative reinforcement. Positive behavior followed by removal of negative consequences. So manager stops nagging the employee. I sold more than anybody. The sales manager is going to, finally stop nagging me about making more sales, right? So that's negative reinforcement. He's not going to nag me anymore about making my sales, because obviously I made the most sales within the company. Punishment, negative behavior followed by negative consequences, right? So you do something bad and then bad consequences happen. So manager demotes employee. You messed up, now you're getting demoted. Extinction, negative behavior is followed by the removal of positive consequences. Manager ignores the behavior, right? So you never want to ignore the behavior, right? But let's read that one again. It says negative behavior followed by removal of positive consequences. So because you're not selling as much, we're going to go ahead and say, you know what, you're not going to get their $50 Starbucks card at the end of the month. So we're gonna remove positive consequences, and the manager's just going to ignore the behavior and just hope that, hey, get yourself together and then you'll get your $50 Starbucks card. So back to your organizational behavior toolbox. Be effective in your use of discipline. So consider whether punishment is the most effective way to modify behavior. It could be that you just have to have a stern talk with the individual and sort of set them straight. Be consistent in your treatment of employees. You have to treat everybody the same way. And let me tell you that even if you don't treat everybody the same way, you're still going to have people that are going to ask you or question your authority on things. Like one lady, she calls me in the office and she starts telling me all this thing that this one lady's doing. And I asked her, I said, now, if you're not telling me this because you guys get here at 6 o'clock in the morning, what other way would I know what she's doing? And she said, well, the feeling is that you treat her better than everybody else. And I said, I'm not even here until 8 o'clock. So how could I treat her better than anybody else? Because I don't even know what she's doing. So now since you're telling me, now I'm going to go address it. And be sure that the punishment fits the crime. So if somebody comes in 2 minutes late, you're not going to just jump down the throat, start yelling at them in front of everybody, and write them up and say you're on your final written warning. That doesn't make sense. Document the behavior in question. So one of the biggest problems that managers have is that when they document or when they don't document the behavior, then they end up having a problem because the individuals come back and say, well, you didn't tell me about that. You didn't write anything about that. And you don't have anything documented. And when you don't have anything documented, then you can't go to HR and write them up or terminate that employee. And be timely with discipline. You have to be timely with discipline, because if you're not timely with discipline, then your window may have passed. I actually tried to terminate an employee, and the HR department, they wanted to be more lenient and they didn't want to terminate her. And so I said, okay, waited longer, and then went to terminate her again, and was successfully terminated her, but then she went back and got unemployment, and we had to have a hearing, all kinds of different things, just because they weren't necessarily timely with the type of discipline that I believe they should have had. So organizational behavior modification, or OB-MOD. So this is very helpful for you in the workplace. If you just follow these 5 very, very simple steps, they will definitely help you. So the first step is to identify the behavior to be modified. Well, what behavior do you need to have modified? Maybe it's that person is coming in late every day. That's a behavior that needs to be modified. Step 2, measure the baseline level. Well, what's the baseline? Well, the baseline is the fact that you need to be at work right at 8 o'clock. Step 3, analyze the outcomes, right? So what's going to be the outcome? I'm going to put you on a probation period, and if you don't come in at 8 o'clock every day straight for the next 3 weeks, then you're going to get written up. Intervene. You want to intervene, and you want to say, hey, if this isn't working out, I'm going to write you up. The next step is going to be termination. And then you want to evaluate and maintain. Did you do the right thing? Right? And you want to maintain what you put in place, because a lot of times what happens is they'll be good for like 3 months, and then all of a sudden, after 3 months is over, then they go back to their evil ways, and then they continue to come into the office late. So again, with the discussions, read those questions either to yourself and answer them, or read them it could be one of your family members. Read it to them, talk to them about it, or to your classmates. Really good discussion questions, such as your manager tells you the best way of ensuring fairness in rewards distribution is to keep the pay a secret. How would you respond to this, right? So, like I said earlier, it's never going to be a secret. People just talk, and they never ever keep all of the information in-house that they should. So motivation and ethics. So reinforcement theory has been particularly successful in explaining ethical behavior. So unethical behavior plus a reward equals what? More unethical behavior, right? So if I'm doing the wrong thing, if I keep coming in late, and then I get a reward, such as, which people have done this in the past, you're supposed to be here at 8, I'm going to change your time to be here to 8:15 because you're late every day. So you have unethical behavior. Let's not just say unethical, let's just say you have bad behavior. And then I reward you by putting your start time to 8:15. So now you're actually, in essence, never ever going to be late again because I changed your time to 8:15. And so that equals more bad behavior. So motivation and culture, at the end of every PowerPoint presentation, you see they go back to culture, right? Because we have a multicultural environment, especially being here in California. It's a melting pot, a lot of different ethnicities, a lot of different cultures. So in developing nations, financial satisfaction was a stronger predictor of overall life satisfaction compared to industrialized nations. And in industrialized nations, satisfaction with esteem needs was a more powerful motivator compared to developing nations. So with the discussion questions, as always, at the end, only a couple on this one. So what's the connection between companies' reward system and their level of ethical behaviors, right? Are you doing things that are unethical so that you can get more rewards? And then also, which motivation theories do you think would be more applicable to many different cultures? So I want you guys to think about those different things as you go through your chapter this week. As always, have a good day and a great week.